on a remote stretch of the English coast. There's a place locals won't go near. Not because they're superstitious, but because they know something is buried there. And whatever is buried was never meant to be found. But one man decided he had to see it for himself. In the early 1900s, a quiet English scholar wrote a story about a man who went looking for buried treasure and found something guarding it. At the time, it was treated like fiction, just another ghost story, something meant to entertain. But the author, M.R. James, wasn't known for making things up lightly. He was a historian, a careful researcher, a man who often built his stories around real places, real traditions, and sometimes real warnings. So tonight, we're going back to one of those places. A quiet stretch of coastline in England. Flat land, cold air, and long, empty beaches that seem to go on forever. Because according to old legend, somewhere along that coast, something was buried. Not gold, not treasure, a crown. Long ago, it was said that 3 ancient crowns were hidden in different parts of England. Each one placed there for a reason. Each one protected. Because as long as those crowns remained undisturbed, the country itself would be safe. But if even one of them were taken, something bad would follow. Most people dismissed it as folklore, a story to scare children. Most people, but not everyone. There are always a few who hear stories like that and don't feel fear. They feel curiosity. A man named Paxton was one of those people. Paxton wasn't reckless. He wasn't foolish. In fact, he was careful, methodical, the kind of person who liked facts, which is exactly why the story bothered him. Because when he started digging into it, he found something strange. The legends weren't just stories. They were tied to real locations, real records, even mentions in old documents that didn't sound like myths at all. And one location kept coming up again and again. A place near the coast. Quiet, isolated, barely visited. So Paxton did what curious people always do. He went there. The town was small, almost empty, the kind of place where strangers stand out immediately. And Paxton noticed something else. People didn't like talking about the crown. Whenever he brought it up, the reactions were off. Quick changes of subject, uneasy glances, silence. All except for one man, an old local named Ager. Ager lived alone in a small, worn-down cottage. And unlike everyone else, he didn't avoid the topic. He faced it. The first time Paxton mentioned the crown, Ager's reaction wasn't curiosity. It was fear. Real fear. He warned Paxton immediately, told him to leave it alone, to forget about it. But Paxton pressed him. And eventually, Ager told him why. Because Ager knew exactly where the crown was buried. He had been watching it, guarding it, for years. Not because he wanted to, but because someone had to. According to Ager, the crown wasn't just hidden. It was protected. Not by traps, not by people, by something else. Something that didn't need to be seen. To be there. He told Paxton that anyone who tried to take it wouldn't just fail. They wouldn't leave. At least, not the same. Paxton listened. He understood the warning. And then, he ignored it. Because curiosity has a way of making warnings feel like challenges. That night, Paxton made his decision. He would find the crown. The beach was empty when he went out. The sky dark, the wind low and steady. He had a map, notes, carefully gathered information, and it led him to a specific spot. A small rise in the land, barely noticeable. But according to everything he'd found, this was it. He started digging. At first, nothing. Just sand, dirt. Then, his shovel hit something solid. Metal. Paxton's heart started racing. He dropped to his knees and cleared away the dirt with his hands. And there it was. The crown. Old, worn, but unmistakably real. For a moment, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Because that's when Paxton realized something. The wind had stopped. Completely. The air felt wrong. Heavy. Like the world was holding its breath. Paxton froze. And then, he heard it. Footsteps. Behind him. Slow. Measured. Getting closer. He turned, but there was nothing there. Just empty land stretching out into darkness. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Paxton swallowed hard. Told himself it was nothing. Just nerves. Just imagination. And then, the footsteps started again. Closer this time. But still, nothing there. That's when Paxton understood. He wasn't supposed to see it. He grabbed the crown and ran. The moment he did, the sound behind him changed. The footsteps weren't slow anymore. They were fast, closing the distance. Whatever was following him was no longer walking. It was chasing. Paxton didn't look back. Couldn't. Because deep down, he knew. If he saw it, it would be worse. He ran across the empty fields, over sand, through cold night air that felt thicker with every step. And all the while, the thing behind him stayed just out of sight. Close enough to hear. Too close. By the time he reached his lodging, he was barely able to breathe. He slammed the door behind him. Locked it. Silence. For a moment, he thought it was over. Then came the sound. Not outside. Inside. A slow movement. Something shifting in the room. Paxton turned, and whatever was there was waiting. The next morning, Paxton was gone. No one saw him leave. No one heard anything unusual. But his belongings were still there. Everything, except one thing. The crown. Days later, they found him, not far from the coast. His body showed no signs of injury. No struggle. But his face. His face was frozen in absolute terror. As if in his final moments, he had seen something no one was ever meant to see. And the crown? It was never found. But locals say, on certain nights, when the wind dies down completely and the air goes still, you can hear footsteps moving across the empty land. Slow, patient, still searching for what was taken and for whoever dared to take it. Because some things aren't buried to be forgotten. They're buried to be left alone. Thanks for watching. Stay curious. I'll see you next time. Peace.